Welcome. So glad that you're here. I'm Shonnie.Alridge, your favorite real estate broker and appraiser in Atlanta, Georgia. And today I have a special guest. Per usual, we have Nathaly Salas. Yes. So we always talk about as agents, you want to be the mayor of your area, right? Niche down and be a local expert. Well, Nathaly has changed the game because she's an international agent. She's a strategist. And so she's been able to learn how to negotiate contracts in 20 different countries. Yes, 20 different countries. So today we're going to talk to her about international real estate, right? Expanding, stretching our reach to faraway places that we never even thought of. Okay, let's go. So, Nathaly, welcome. So glad that you're here.
Shonnie.
Well, Nathaly Salas is a global real estate strategist and international market researcher with experience across 20 plus countries. She's based out of Chicago and Riviera Maya. She's visited 38 nations, gathering real estate insights and hands-on experience with rentals, Airbnbs, and fix and flips. She's the creator of the International Real Estate Academy and the Real Estate Tours Worldwide, both designed to help us agents and investors expand globally. Nathaly's mission is to empower agents to grow internationally, build freedom-based businesses, and design lives that align with lifestyle, health, and purpose. Nathaly!
Thank you, Shonnie. It was a nice intro.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I mean, we always talk about real estate and being like a local expert and being the mayor of your area, but you've challenged us to really stretch ourselves and to think bigger. So I want you to tell me first and foremost, how did you get into, we all have our stories, but how did you get into real estate?
I think that I've been in real estate since I was, in my 20s, like as a buyer, I like the construction side of things and the flipping in Chicago. So I had some experience with that. I liked it. I like to get my hands on experimenting with real estate. So I got to do my career in while I was in corporate. So it was kind of like a part-time thing that I like to do, experimenting. And, at least you have to try everything at least once to see if you like it. And in that space, I had some background on it before I became an agent, like agent professionally. I became an agent in 2021. So it's been 4 and some years that I've been in the making. And my goal was always being in the international space. So that was kind of like if I want to get into the agency part of things to help a client to a transaction, I wanted to be international. And that was kind of my goal from the beginning. And there's a lot of stories behind that, but that was kind of my goal. I was like, if I can do the international piece, I think I need to have technology. And that was the reason I'm here now.
Yeah. Very good. Well, you've done a lot, in this short time frame of being a licensed agent. You have mastered the buying process of over 20 countries. You mentioned that you knew that, okay, once I got my license, I'm going to expand. But, what does that journey look like? I mean, knowing how to understand the buying process of over 20 countries, is it complicated? Is it simple? What was that like for you?
Well, I thought it was, when you think about international, and maybe many agents also think about international as something really big and far, far away that is complicated. And, maybe I leave it for somebody else that wants to do that, or maybe I have to travel a lot. Well, there's some mistaken beliefs on that. For the international piece, and the reason I started with this is like I did a framework on understanding a transaction first, in my local market in Chicago, to know the A to Z on the process. And then later on, I realized that as I'm doing more research on different countries, the process is the same. Like it doesn't change too much. I would say the 80% is exactly the same thing. You have your buyer, your earnest money, down payment, financing, closing.
Yes.
And the 20% might vary by location on the legal part and what, specific to that region or that city or that municipality is. So that if you're doing transactions right now, you already have the base at 80%. And if you do it, international, you just add the nuance for the country that you want to focus on. Or if you want to learn about different countries, you just learn that exception. So it's not that difficult, but at the same time, it requires some research and working with the right teams locally if you're not living in that location.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess for me, my mind is that it's so different, it's so complicated. I can't even be bothered because now I have to learn all these different ways of doing it and stuff. And so the reality is, it's not really as difficult as we make it out to be.
No, not really. Really,
That's
really.
good to know.
You can start right now. Like if anybody was listening to this and they're like, I feel a little stuck on my market. Maybe it's not moving as fast as it used to be. It's not 2021 anymore. And,
Mhm.
like people are buying houses like hotcakes. Now it's more like, hey, I need to do my homework. I need to farm my area. So if somebody feels stuck in their market and they're like, maybe there's some more to real estate than this. I don't want to give up my license. I don't want to give up from the industry. It gets harder, as the market gets tougher. But
Yeah,
there's always ways around it and how you can expand and then, come back and expand and compress again on your local market.
right.
So you're known as that person that for the expertise, not only for the transaction.
Exactly. And now that since we're talking to the agents that are watching, um, is there something like maybe one thing in particular that you would want, agents to know who are not international to kind of know and understand? Like maybe one thing that you see happens all the time that we like, I wish that you all knew this.
To me, it has been the research part because I think rely on your community of
Mm-hmm.
agents because you cannot be in 20 locations at the same time. I cannot.
It's true.
You can have the knowledge and then refer those out. Just have a good team on the ground because the number one mistake I see many agents do is like, oh, I met somebody in Mexico and he's an agent. Well, in Mexico, you don't need a real estate license, so anybody can be an agent. So trusting that person fully with your client, maybe just have some validation, have a system in place, have
Okay.
like we do right now, an ecosystem. Because if you rely on only one person that will manage all your leads, you just don't know how that's going to go until you start and finish with a client and then you can, test the experience. I find many times that when they don't have the research done, they trust like, any person, and sometimes maybe they don't know how to international buyers buy in their markets, and that
Yeah.
can be where communication breaks.
Yeah. Would you suggest that an agent have traveled to a particular country before they try to participate in any kind of real estate transactions?
Absolutely, yes. Unless, if you're going to do the full transaction with
Mhm.
that country, but if you're a referring agent, you don't have to know everything. You have to just do the
That's true.
So I call it the two type of agents: the remote agent, that you can send the leads to an agent locally that will perform the transaction, finish it up, and
Mm-hmm.
the local agent that will be receiving that part. And there is also one in the middle. I call it the nomad that can go back and forth, which is who I am right now. So I can
Okay.
go from one location to the other, but I spend a lot of time there, maybe like 2 to 6 months. So if
Mm.
you cannot commit the time, maybe to spend at least 1 to 2 to 3 months in that location, it's going to be hard for you to be an expert on that, space.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to do it every year as well because the knowledge changes, the rules change, the inventory changes. Sometimes there's, some developers that are default,
That's
and
true.
you need to know that.
Yeah.
So it's like a matter of, knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know, and
Yeah.
leveraging what you don't know with local teams that are vetted by you, or at least in a community.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to know what role you want to play
Mm-hmm.
in the international space. Like you said, if you want to be maybe the referring agent where you're like, look, Nathaly, I have someone who wants to purchase something someplace else. Can you assist them and you kind of let it go? Or if you want to really do the entire thing, what does that look like? And stuff like that. Okay, very good. Now, for you, you've traveled to a lot of different countries. Do you have what is your insight on maybe the strongest company to actually purchase real estate in?
It depends on the goal of the buyer,
Okay.
and if it's an investment or lifestyle. Because
Ah.
many times people are like, "Hey, I want an investment property," but at the end of the day, they want a lifestyle property. So
Mm.
it depends on that specific thing that we look at the location. So
Okay.
based on let's say the research I've done across the different countries I've seen, I find that there are just different pockets in the world that are for different people, families, couples, single people, digital nomads. So you want to maybe find first who's the client, what they want or what they truly want, because sometimes they tell you one thing and it's another.
That's true.
I just don't know.
Yes, that happens all the time.
Not only international, happens in local deals here every day, and also understand their budgets, because if you don't know how much money they can spend, and then a lot of purchases outside of the US is sometimes it's cash. So do you have that amount of cash, or can you leverage? Many people pay off their debt in 3 to 5 years on their homes because they don't want to accumulate debt, and the interest is really high in other countries. So especially in Latin America. So here we're used to maybe a 6-7%. Back in the day it was like 3. It was amazing. But in other countries they're used to 9, 10, 12, 14%. So then they want to get rid of that debt faster. So it just has different cultures on debt. And based on that, I always ask the client, depending on, who you are, where you like, if you like the beach, the mountains, or a big city, it will be different. To me, like I'm from Chicago, I love the beach because I don't have a beach in Chicago and it's cold. So
yes.
like me in the Midwest, they'll be like, get me to Riviera Maya, get me to the beach, get me to the sun as soon as possible. It's January. But that's our main market. The Midwesterns that are like tired of being in the cold in winter, and the Canadians as well that are like, get me out of here, from November to March, and maybe I'll survive this week. That's kind of the marketing persona that we have that comes to us for advice. And that usually goes to the East Coast. People go to the West Coast from California, so the migration patterns are different as well. But the East Coast is my favorite market because we get people from all over the world, and it's very different. And it comes from lifestyle to investment, so we can, go deep on either direction. It depends on the person and what they like, and what weather too, because some people don't like the heat too much. If it's 40 degrees, it'll be like, too much. Maybe get me in the 40 degrees Celsius. So if it's like maybe in the 22 Celsius, then they'll be like, oh, okay, this is more comfortable, but don't get me into the 40s because it's too much. Or don't get me cold. So and it just depends on the preference also. Weather, location, lifestyle.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's really important for people to take into consideration when you're talking about international, because you are thinking about, I'm doing this for a lifestyle, or my purchaser, my client is doing it for a lifestyle, but it could just be really just for investment, where they're only there for a short amount of time every year. So, so what are we doing here? And it has to make sense. Is there a really huge misconception that you find that people have when it comes to international purchasing? Is it they think that maybe it's better to purchase cash, you can't finance, or the real estate may be in good condition or bad condition? Is there any misconception that you see that you have to kind of speak to every time you speak to somebody?
Yeah, I think the number one that I find, at least to the market that we cover in Mexico, is that only Mexicans can buy in Mexico. That's not true. Anybody can buy in Mexico. So,
thank you for clearing that up. Y'all.
Anybody can.
We know.
Yeah, and I encourage to explore a little bit more beyond, because sometimes our default, at least for the Midwesterners, we're like, let's go to Florida, or let's go to Miami, or let's go to maybe Arizona as well, right? But Florida is kind of the number one, and then Texas and everything else in the middle because of the beach.
Exactly.
For the prices that you get in Florida, you can buy 3 homes in Mexico.
Wow.
So the prices, depending on what's your budget and what's your lifestyle and how you want to keep your fixed costs, are super important. So the main misconception is like, I don't want to get out of the country. Maybe it's too dangerous. Maybe I cannot buy there. Well, unless you go there and experience every day, you just don't know what you're dealing with. I've been in Riviera Maya for 4 years, back and forth, and haven't felt threatened or anything like that. So people think maybe by watching too many news, there's a little brainwashing over there happening.
Yes.
Don't watch so many news. And then ask questions. If you're curious, you can always ask somebody that is like, hey, so you just went there, right? Like, how is it over there? And also the purchase itself. Don't go with the news that was like 20 years ago, because people are like, oh, they told me one day. And I was like, when was that? Oh, 1980s. I'm like, well, a lot of things have changed since then.
So long ago. It's like, come on. It's
my uncle back in the day couldn't. And I'm like, so 20 years later, I'm like, there's a few things that have changed. the governments adjust to whoever is migrating there. And Mexico is really friendly for buyers. They really make it happen. However, you adjust to your time, schedule on payments, or the type of real estate that you buy, and anybody can buy there. There's just an extra layer of legality that needs to be added there. But once you do that, you're a full owner of your property.
Yeah. And you know what, Nathaly? It's like this, if someone who's interested feels like, oh, it's not safe, well, then maybe that won't fit your lifestyle. Then maybe you'll just buy something in that particular place as an investment and you'll let it be income producing. So, you just got to look into it, and everything like that. If that's a concern, like safety or whatever, you can have a different perspective and come in it in a different way.
Yeah. When it comes to safety, we have a lot of gated communities where I live in the Riviera Maya. There's a lot of golf communities. There's a lot of family communities. There's a lot of beach. Like safety is defined by how safe you feel wherever you are. I'm in Chicago, and here everybody thinks like I'm gonna die one day. I'm gonna get shot.
Yeah, that's
so dangerous. And
they make it out to be so bad. Oh, Chicago.
Yeah, like, you live in Chicago. I'm like, are you okay in the streets? I'm like, I'm fine. I've been fine for 2 years. I think it just depends on your perception of danger. But for people looking outside, maybe they think Chicago is really dangerous. And same with different places. So it just depends, on your perception of danger. And once you're there, you're like, you have to go there to see, how do I feel? And then you're like, well, just the birds are chirping and the seas, like doing their thing. So it's just very quiet. So it's not what I thought it would be. Just you have to be there to know.
Right. That's true. I think we can sometimes get a little brainwashed based on the information because everyone's doing information gathering. Everyone's researching and listening and just trying to figure things out. And so they may have the wrong viewpoint based on the information that they have been researching. So, okay, now you have an academy, you have a group where you do tours and different things like that. Let's talk about that because that's really very helpful. A lot of times we don't want to just start doing something by ourselves. We want to have someone who knows what they're doing and we can follow their lead. So you have an academy in place.
Yeah, we launched that this year because I think I had so many things in my head that I couldn't explain, and I can do so many classes, but it's like a one-on-one or 1 to 10 people or 20 people. So I was like, let me just dump all my brain into just a course. It's a 10-module course that we have in the academy. And then it's a community as well. So very similar to Mike and Vane, that they are like, I'm an expert in this. Let me just dump all my knowledge in here. And whoever wants to leverage it, awesome. So our community right now is in school as international real estate agents for anybody who's thinking, aspiring, or are already in the international space. It's a great community to come network. Whether you're from EXP or not, it will be anybody can join, and that community is free, so anybody can join, get the knowledge. We have weekly calls on Thursdays, and we walk through. We have guests from different countries that come and showcase their country, and in that showcase, it's like doing a CMA, from our local markets. It's like, okay, so what is the lifestyle here? Like, what to expect for, what is growing? What are the demographics? What big cities, beach towns? What's trending in that?
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's helpful. That's super helpful.
Yeah, because then you don't know if you like it unless you see the numbers. People are sometimes numbers based, and they're like, I want to see what is like, what's growing, because I want to buy an opportunity. I don't want to buy in the top of the market, right?
Right.
You just really have to. So then that knowledge helps a lot of agents just learn the education, learn the market, and then maybe they have a client asking for it, and then that's when they can send a referral and make money out of that. So it's not only knowledge, it's like, what do you do with the knowledge? For us, make some commission in addition to what you're already making. From the chair, you don't have to leave the office, but the more knowledge you have, the more you can, spread it.
Absolutely.
And then that kind of led us to the actual course itself. That is a structured course that you can sit down at your own pace on the 10 modules that will be showing you from A to Z on what it's like to be an international agent. So you can get the theory on your own time, come back to the Thursday calls to ask questions, or be part of the community for exchanging of leads and referrals. So it's kind of like an ecosystem of like what do I want to, what's my style of learning, or what's my style of ingesting information.
Yeah, I
And we put
love
everything
that.
on YouTube as well, that people can go and search. Clients can come and search as well. Like if they're looking, what's life like in Portugal? What's the cost of living in Portugal? We have that based on our local expert. So it's not like me sharing with you what Portugal is like, because I'm not.
Yeah, someone who's actually there that
Yeah.
knows it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So for me, it's super important to have like the information that is valid, and then somebody that is an expert in the location, and also
Yes.
current, because you can Google something, maybe it's not current. People will be like, oh, I would like to get the golden visa in Portugal. Well, currently you cannot, not anymore through real estate. There's other ways, but that would have been good news 2 years ago, but now it's old news, to have some
Right.
current information as well.
Oh, I love it. Now, also you have tours that you have set up, and I saw something on your YouTube channel, and it just looked like it was so much fun. Everyone was just kind of touring and looking at different real estate and looking at the area and just hanging out. It's beautiful weather. So let's talk about the tours.
So the tours were born last year because we always do tours, right? Like for sometimes scouting trips or for tours for fun.
Yeah.
And I think it became a necessity by
Yeah.
having the ecosystem to
Uh-huh.
to have more organized trips, because sometimes we
Right.
have, I mean, like here, right? Like you can do showings of houses,
Mm-hmm.
but in our area, showings are like a whole day, sometimes a whole weekend, sometimes 4 days. Like literally, you spend with one client. And then sometimes imagine if that client doesn't close. You're like 4 days of your calendar gone.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, we have discovered that many people come and scout the places, but they're not ready yet. And we don't want to push somebody to buy something until if they're not ready as a buyer. So the
Yeah.
doors are open for buyers, investors, and agents that are exploring that location as a maybe a one day, but they're not ready quite there yet. So then either they've been visiting the location many times as a vacation, but they haven't taken the time to see what it's like to live here.
Right.
This is kind of like the everyday life. What is the grocery store? What's your closest hospital? What neighborhoods are different for what? Some of them are more hipster, more artistic, more beach like, more
Yeah.
people live here, depending on what's a person like. So then
Exactly.
help on getting people during 4 to 7 days, depending on the tour. Usually they're four
Mm-hmm.
days, like literally packed of information. And the same thing
Right.
that you're learning like in class online, you can get to learn it and experience it as we're going. So we have like a seminar of 4 days of sharing and teaching agents, people, buyers, what's the buying process, what are the benefits, the risks,
Mm-hmm.
what the opportunities are, and also what are the neighborhoods. So literally, we take them down city by city or neighborhood by neighborhood. And walk them through. So this is the golf community if you're a golfer, and this is the difference between this one and this one.
And
There's like
that one.
three
Yeah.
and this one is more like inland, and this one is on the beach. And then,
Yeah.
of course, the closer to the beach, the more expensive. So they can visualize like, okay, so for this amount of money, if I spend $200,000, I get 1,000 square feet here. Versus if I spend $200 here, I may get 500 square feet. So
Yeah.
you see
Uh-huh.
that difference on.
Yep. Of the
Oh, I
beachfront.
see. I can feel myself in the space, and
Yeah.
now I know what I get for what. So that's the most important thing for us, showing people the difference in prices, so they can have a CMA. We give them a CMA, a comparative market analysis as well, of
Mhm.
what are the current real prices, because in international real estate, somebody is like throwing spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks on prices.
Ah.
The data is not there too much, because the recording of the data is not always current and is not always available. So when it goes to details on like, okay, what's the real price of this thing? Sometimes the developer are like, oh, it's 300,000, and you're like, okay, what you just put
Compared to
that
what?
there?
Yeah.
And many times that happens, especially happening in Tulum. Like people put their own prices, and we're like, based on what? Like
Yeah.
comparables, we're in Mexico, like those are US prices that you're giving us. So to educate our clients and our agents too, what are the current real prices average, like based on the some of the data that we have collected, but it's not publicly sometimes available. And then we give them like the down to the price per square foot or the price per square meter, or like what is the average. So then at that point, it's not like you
That
get a
helps.
2 bedroom 2 bathroom, because you can get a 2 bedroom 2 bathroom inland on the rainforest, or you can get a 2 bedroom 2 bathroom penthouse. So
Yeah. Okay. So right.
they will
That's
see.
important.
Yeah.
I like that because 2 years ago I did a trip like that. I toured I was in Belize and we toured and we were looking at like hotels and things like that. And it was the same thing you said, like we had someone who was the subject matter expert, uh, taking us around, talking about this community, talking about that community, talking about how much beachfront you would have and being close to, school. If you have children, being close to schools and how things were built in the community. And it was just so helpful to figure out like, I'm not doing it. Or, you know what, I'll consider, putting a down payment down on something. So I love that you are doing those tours. I love that you have the academy because it can really help somebody to really decide if this fits them, if it's suitable for them to even do it at all. They can learn and decide if they want to do something or not. And when they decide, they have someone that can help
Yeah.
them.
Experiencing, I think it's experiencing learning, or I don't know how you say that, but it's experiential. You actually experience the thing and
Yeah.
then see if you want to learn more about it, or you experience
Absolutely.
the place, and you can go and tell your clients about it. Because some
Yeah.
many agents join the tours and they're like, oh, I had no idea that you can get this for that. And
Mhm.
our average price is 250,000 USD
Mhm.
in the area that we cover. And many times when they compare it to the local market, they're like, I don't know, I can get a beach house, or depending on where you are, or a
Yeah.
condo so
Mhm.
close that I can walk to the beach. So
Wow.
it's many times that realization of like, oh, I didn't know, and I can go and tell my clients because I have 2, 3 clients that will love this. So then, unless you have the information, you cannot share from a place of just reading a book. You need to
Yeah.
share, from a place that you've experienced it, and that's the most important thing I think for me.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of buyers who are cash? Do you have like, is it half and half with cash and financing? How does the financing portion work?
In Mexico specifically, we now have financing. We didn't have financing 4 years ago when I started. So
Okay.
we had sellers financing, which is the developers will finance the property
Hmm.
until they deliver it. So you had
Okay.
2 to 4 years to pay it off, literally, like come up with 150,000 each, for those 4 years, let's say, and pay it off. But now we do have financing that people who want to buy something that is ready to go, and the bank can examine the property if it's compliant. And
Hmm.
the thing that when you work with a bank is that they guarantee that it's compliant. So the risk of fraud goes down quite a bit. When you buy a
Okay.
developer, you just don't know who they are. Sometimes you don't know
Hmm.
their portfolio or if they perform on what they say they're going to do. And
Uh-huh.
many, the market just went upside down into loom because of this. Because people don't do things right, or they say one thing, they overpromise and they deliver, or sometimes don't deliver. And that's the most painful thing to see a client going through
Yeah.
like that.
That's
So
terrible. Yeah.
the financing is available now through banks. Now, Mexican banks lending in pesos and in dollars. So now we have several options,
Okay.
but the interest might be a little higher, not that you're used to here, maybe 9-10% and up. So then that way you have the opportunity to finance your place, for 20, 30 years, like you will do in the US without,
Hmm.
coming up with all the cash. We don't want you to, just lose your liquidity because you buy a vacation home. If you
Right.
choice, you can take that choice, of course, and then it will be a matter of the client seeing what they like, what they need, what's their budget, and how much they can allocate per month. Or if you want to spread out in more years, that's up to them. But now we have
Hmm.
the choice to do that in Mexico. So we have sellers finance, we
Okay.
have cash, and then we have the bank financing as well for international buyers, especially Americans.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So now I know that there are agents that are watching this. They're like, okay, I want to get involved. Like, how do I get involved with this? What does that look like? So how can agents work with you?
For us, it's very important to join the community first. It's a free community. You can find it in school. We're international real estate agents. I can also share the link with
Yeah,
you.
we'll have the links below. Yep. So you guys can click the links below.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they can come join. They can talk to you, and you can guide them through what will be like for them if they're a buyer or an agent.
Hmm.
In the community, we have buyers and agents because for us, is we are just sharing information
Yeah,
as
collaborating.
wide as possible. Because
Hmm.
to me, the most important thing is just have the information. Don't risk your client, because if you're an agent, I made all these mistakes too myself when I didn't ask enough questions,
Hmm.
and you just don't know who you're dealing with. And your partners, you want to know over time. Sometimes you don't know if they're good or not so good. So
Yeah.
you don't want to waste that time or spend more time that, you can spend 2 years getting to know somebody to know if they're good or bad. And then imagine 2 years later, you're like, that person, I cannot work with them. So
Right.
to avoid, saving time, don't, lose money. That's the community is for, like, to get to know each other. We have recommendations very specific for certain areas, for some agents that we work with, or some developers we work with. We have a very tight, vetted list of properties that we promote, because
Okay.
to promote everything is impossible, and we just don't know everybody is going to perform. So then that's super important. The vetted, curated inventory is one of the
Yes.
benefits, because international, it's a wild, wild west of real estate. I always say that. US, you guys are protected here very well, because you can have a lawsuit and you resolve it right away. In Mexico, your lawsuit can last 10 years, and you're going to be wasting time, money, and patience, and you'll be like, you're going to blame the country. You'll be like, this sucks. I'm out of here.
Right.
But it's not at the country, it's just who you deal with and the community. So that's
Who
what
you deal with.
super important. And
Okay.
then with that, they
So
can join our course, and it's also in school. But they can come to you with any questions. We can have a 3-way call as well if they're agents. If they're buyers, again, you can reach out to me. Instagram is my favorite channel. All our information is in YouTube. We put everything that we create is in YouTube for free for anybody to read or to listen and ingest from there.
yeah, yeah. You know, I love that you have done this, because we have to stretch ourselves a little bit here to diversify. It's good to diversify. And the reality is it's very possible to do it, and it's not as complicated as it has to be, because you've done the work ahead of time. So all of your mistakes, we're able to, benefit from what you've learned. And so I love that. So any agents that are watching, hey, glad that you're here. Glad that you're here. Join us. If you are on track to hit your goals and you want, some assistance with that, we're here to help you, get back on track. If you're a new agent, hey, we're here to help you as well, because you should be making some money in business, at least $100,000. You really should, but you can't do it if you don't have the support that you need. And so we're here to assist you. Our links are down below. Reach out to us if you're interested in, tapping into the international real estate. Don't wait. You watched the video, you're here now. So go ahead and reach out so we can get that process started for you, because it's possible. So Nathaly, do you want to leave the viewers with anything, any last remarks or comments you want to leave our viewers with today?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, live life a little, because sometimes we're stuck always at work, and we're hamster wheel every day. So looking outside of that, because I've been there too. I'm there, when I get stuck. So when you see different places you travel, I think that opens the door to so many opportunities that you might have not been considering, because you're in the everyday. So I always say, live a little, and don't pay attention to the news, please. Life is too short, like, to not enjoy life fully. And I think through this path, we've been able to change many lives that were like, I never thought it this way, but now I'm curious. So just curiosity will take you really far, and that's what we're all over the world now, just experimenting and being curious. So I like that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Nathaly. Thank you all for watching. Again, the links are below, and take care.
Thank you.